I want to be a little bit more specific about our city. So in addition to, the Alberta beef and the Alberta energy and oil, if you've heard anything about our city, it's probably and likely the Calgary Stampede. It's fantastic. It's a 10-day nonstop party. It's an outdoor show, it's rodeo. So it's that little picture right here in the middle. But again, it's a 10-day event. It changes the entire city. There's rides, there's fun and entertainment and games, but also the entire city becomes a very cowboy-y kind of feel. I personally am not a big fan of country music. I will more than tolerate it in those 10 days. You can't avoid it. It's the entire city changes. It's very lively. There's free pancake breakfast all around town. Definitely something you're going to want to enjoy and participate in. And I know our students are always thrilled when they're here, and it's usually around the summertime in July. And our international students get the opportunity. We take them kind of on a field trip to enjoy these events all around our city at that time. The other thing I want to highlight about Calgary is we're a relatively young population. I know it says average age is 37 years old. I'd like to think it's 37 years young. And I think, again, overall, compared to the rest of Canada, it does indicate that we are kind of on that younger curve, younger population. Now, Calgary is actually not the capital city here in Alberta. Edmonton is, but we are most certainly the largest city in the province. And if you've seen any world rankings in that video that I shared earlier, we are consistently ranked in the world as one of the most livable, the cleanest cities. So it's definitely made its mark in Canada, and it has a great population and lots of supports and services and events and activities to support all the individuals that come and live and work in our city as well. Just to reiterate what I showed in the video before, we are situated in a perfect spot, very close to the Banff National Park and Lake Louise area. It's about an hour and a half drive, very, very close. We're also home to multiple UNESCO heritage sites. And if you're a dinosaur fan, well, we've got a dinosaur provincial park and Drumheller, where a lot of fossils were found, and there's museums in that area to showcase this too. Just a little quick highlight about our campus and kind of where we're situated within the city. It is a relatively large city, but we've got transit stops, so a C train transit line with our own station, and we're only 2 or 3 stations away from downtown. So we're very accessible, and this picture here, right here, that's actually a photo of our Calgary downtown area. And what's really unique is that our campus, from the soccer field, it overlooks downtown. It's absolutely beautiful. You can see the skyline, everything. You can watch fireworks from there when it's fireworks season. It's a fantastic location, our campus. And my personal favorite, truly, is that last line there, 333 days of sunshine every year. I'm honest with everybody here. I'm from Vancouver, British Columbia, originally. I love that it wasn't as cold, but it rained very often and it was quite gray. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, that means everything is relatively green and lush, but I need sunshine. I'm a sunshine girl. It makes me just so much happier. And here, yeah, admittedly, it's a little bit colder, but you can't beat 300 something days of sunshine a year. It could be snowing and somehow the sun is still shining. So beautiful city, bright, lively. Please come if you haven't before, just to visit. All right, so the next few slides I'm going to share with everybody is to put our province into perspective when it comes to the other areas within our country. So Canada is a very large country indeed, for sure. So if you're not too familiar, Alberta is this one here. So that's where Calgary is located. We're in the southern part of this province. So BC, that's just our next door neighbor. They're right there on the west of us. And to the east, you'll see all the other provinces. This slide in particular highlights the minimum wage at this time. So the least amount of money that an individual can make per hour in any occupation. So Alberta sits at $15 per hour right now, whereby some of the other provinces, they vary. So admittedly, BC is, 20 cents more. But let's be honest, when I show you my next slide, that 20 cent might not make too much of a difference, even though it's more, because we're going to talk a little bit about how much it costs to live in Calgary, Alberta. But again, if I just show you some of the other major highlights, Ontario usually comes up quite often. They're at $14.35 when it comes to their minimum wage. So we're definitely right up there at the very top. So here we go. This shouldn't surprise too many people, but I think this is pretty accurate. I mean, we based this information on 2021, and we did look at, kind of the major cities. So we're looking at downtown rental properties, usually kind of a 1-bedroom situation. On average in Alberta, it's just about $1,200. BC, this is where that makes a difference. We're looking at least-ish double that. And same for Ontario, which is Toronto. That's where it's located. Most people are familiar with the city of Toronto. So yes, minimum wage is a little bit lower than BC, but like I said, that 20 cents is not going to make too much of a difference when you're paying almost double every month for rent. I don't actually have a slide for this, but I'm sure this has impacted everybody in this conversation right now. Gas prices. That shouldn't shock anybody, but I believe last I heard in BC, the gas price was $2 average, $2 per liter. Yeah, we're not there. I mean, it's not great. I think we were at, last I saw at a gas station was $1.67 per liter. That's still very high for us, but it's significantly lower than BC. And I think part of that reason, again, is because we're the energy capital of Canada. So we definitely have a little bit of advantage there. It costs a little bit less to just drive around. But here's my favorite slide. This is also another highlight of our province. We put ourselves at the very top there, alphabetically too. You'll see that we have a 0% provincial sales tax rate. So if you're not all too familiar with what this means, when we purchase something, depending what it is, every item has an additional tax rate on it. So there's the PST, provincial sales tax, and the GST, which is a goods and sales tax. And again, PST, the provincial sales rate in Alberta is 0%. In all of Canada, we are the only province with 0%. The only other ones that kind of come close are the territories. So you'll notice that here, Northwest Territories is at 0% and the Yukon is at 0%. And so what that means and why this is my favorite thing is, as I mentioned before, I'm originally from Vancouver, BC. When I go home, my parents always ask me if, I'd like to go shopping. I always say no. Because if they're selling the exact same thing in Vancouver and Calgary, you can bet I'm buying it here because I got automatically 7% discount. You will notice in British Columbia, it's 7 plus 5, it's 12%, and it does all add up. So if you're a serious shopper like me, you would be saving significantly here in Alberta. All right, so SAIT, again, Southern Alberta Institute of Technology. What does that really mean? Well, it means we're not a university. We are a polytechnic. Now, what does a polytechnic mean? Primarily, it just means that most of our programs are taught in a hands-on, real-life setting. It's very practical, it's relevant, and we work with industry and we hire industry to teach our students. So the educators, in this case, if you're doing the baking program, we're hiring real chefs to come and teach you so that when students graduate, they are working in that field and it's not like they've never seen it before. They've worked in a real kitchen. They are ready to go in a kitchen almost exactly like that. It's different than reading it from a textbook or just watching something online. They're practicing in real life settings. And I think that is so important for students to not just get the practice that they need, but for post-graduation, they're ready to work. And it's very clear from our high graduation rate. You'll notice here it's 91% of our grads get hired. That's also because the industries around our community recognize the value of a state education. They know that we have quality graduates and therefore they're ready to hire them right after graduation and sometimes during, because a lot of our programs also have co-ops or internships, or in some cases they call them practicums. So it's that hands-on work integrated learning. It's working with industry, studying from being taught by somebody in the industry that makes the most difference. Okay. So a little bit more about our International Center, but the one thing I want to highlight too, this is not a random picture. This is actually one of our buildings. It's called Heritage Hall. It's beautiful. There's a lot of history to it. I believe in the video, it indicated that we are 105 years old. So we have a lot of history. We're not some new institution. We're in fact one of the first polytechnics across Canada. So 105, yes, but this year we're turning 106. So big deal. We are quite old, and so is that building. But you'll notice these are some of our more modern buildings too. I think these were built in 2012, perhaps. So large campus, lots of different buildings, lots of different facilities, but all of which is just based on our kind of history. So when SAIT first opened, we were actually primarily for railway workers. They learned railroad building. We serviced a lot of, I believe, nurses in the World Wars. So again, it's that history. It's overlooking downtown. It's a beautiful campus to be in, and we are world recognized. I think you saw on the previous slide, our School of Business in particular, and our School of Hospitality and Tourism ranked very highly in the world. So sorry, back to this International Center slide. I'd like to highlight that this has already changed because we just got the information about 2022. We are now at over 3,000 international students. So again, not small by any means. In fact, we are having a very ambitious goal. By 2025, we wish to double that. So by 2025, we want to have 6,000 international students. And that's very significant for us because it will be approximately 20 or 25% of our overall student population we intend to have as international students from all over the world. In fact, we've had students from over 163 countries kind of graduate and pass through our doors. The specific things to the International Center, we recognize international students have a lot of unique needs, and it's no secret they pay a little bit more, they pay more than our domestic student population, but that's what we're here for. Our International Center is meant to satisfy some of the needs that these unique students have. So we offer them field trips that not necessarily our domestic students have access to. We organize activities and events specific for them, and program advising and even immigration support if that's necessary. We have a certified immigration consultant who works on our team to facilitate any questions regarding or related to study permits, permit extensions, even post-grad work permits. So it's not too different when it comes to SAIT and some of our other post-secondary institutions in our province. We are quite competitive. And of course, English language proficiency is a requirement. And this is perfect because with Global Village, we have a pathway agreement. So we recognize that all graduates from Global Village, they meet our English proficiency requirement. And that's really important because the level of English proficiency that students receive after graduating from Global Village is not only recognized, but it's valued at SAIT, and it therefore means that they'll be very productive and successful in the programs because we know that they come prepared. So of course, in addition to English language proficiency, depending on the program, other courses may be required from high school as well. These could be things like math, the sciences like biology, chemistry, and physics, for example. This one here on programs 8 months or longer, allowing eligibility for a post-grad work permit. Again, just a reminder, it is an open work permit. So yes, we talked about how Calgary has a lot of opportunities for work, but just so everyone is aware, following graduation, if a student is eligible for a PGWP, the open work permit means that they can work anywhere in Canada. It's not limited to our province or our city. Okay, so we're going to jump a little bit into the different types of programs that SAIT offers. I think I actually saw some questions in the chat. Is everybody okay with that? Or oh, okay, yeah. If there are questions, please let me know and don't hesitate to just put your hand up or something. Feel free to stop me at any time. So this slide just kind of highlights the different types of credentials that our institution offers. So not unlike many other institutions, we have diplomas, certificates, degrees, applied degrees, post-diploma credentials, etc. But I will have to say that most international students join SAIT for diploma programs, which are 2-year credentials. And what that also means is if they complete that 2-year diploma, they would also be eligible for a 3-year post-grad work permit. So that's really significant, and that's also why it's so popular with our international students. Anything short of that, it's just a match. So anything above between 8 months to 2 years, so let's say it's a year credential will only allow a student to work 1 year post-graduation. So that's why a 2-year diploma is one of our most popular, because they can work 3 years. Okay, so we have 8 different academic schools as listed here. I'll kind of go through the next several slides to kind of highlight some of the programs that fall within these schools. I won't spend too much time on them, but if somebody has particular questions about any one specific program, please don't hesitate to let me know. I will also be highlighting kind of what some of those programs include and what my favorite things about them are. And they might be unique to our institution because we are a polytechnic. So business administration, we actually have a 2-year diploma, but we also offer a 4-year degree. Now, depending on which option a student chooses, whether it's the business administration diploma or the degree, ultimately though, in their subsequent years or subsequent semesters, they can choose between these 5 different majors. So management, supply chain, human resources, accounting, and finance. Whereas in their first year, first semester or so, it's general. Every student is taking the same generic courses. It's in their subsequent semesters that they'll be picking a major. Under the School of Business, we also offer legal assistant, office professional, and our administrative information management. And I really want to highlight this School of Business again because it's ranked very high. In fact, we're one of only 3 Canadian schools that made it on the world rankings list. Okay, I'll jump to the next one here. It's our School of Construction. And within the School of Construction, we have 3 different types that offer a diploma, and we have 2 that are considered the Bachelor in Applied degree. Now, again, depending which one a student chooses, the years committed is going to be a little bit different. So anywhere from 2 to 4 years. Health and public safety, this one I'm going to spend a little bit of time on too, because this is typically a quite popular choice under the School of Health and Public Safety for our international students. And sometimes it's because it could be that, you know, an individual did a little related to these areas back home, but they need something of a Canadian credential, and that's where they'll choose to take these programs and then be eligible to work following graduation. So number 1 and number 5, I kind of always get them confused, but I believe optician is kind of the glasses and the 5 is kind of like the actual eyeball itself. That's my understanding of it. But really what you need to know here is that this was also created out of a need. So within the kind of local Calgary area, there was an indication that there was not enough skilled workers in these areas. And so kind of the optometric associations, they approached SAIT and said, hey, we need some skilled workers. And so in coordination with them, we create and develop these programs. And so that's also why there's a lot of good practicum and co-op placements that happen during the course of these studies so that students are able to get that firsthand experience. And then following graduation, they're ready to work and they're ready to be hired. The other ones that also are similar in that sense with the hands-on and actual labs is number 3, which is dental assisting. It's a real lab. They're actually working on dummies with real teeth. Then they kind of move on, and that's when they're actually working on real human beings, myself included. In fact, I haven't done it yet because generally speaking, dentists make me nervous, but it's only $5 to get a cleaning with one of our practicing students. Great value. It's I don't know, I think usually it's a few $100s if you go to a full-on dental office. So definitely a value worth checking out as a student, but also as somebody from the public to access some of these services. Now this one, I feel like I said, you know, that other one was my favorite. This one, I'm not going to lie, this is definitely my favorite. Hospitality and tourism. There's a lot kind of within this category, but most importantly, I just want to highlight the hospitality and tourism management majors. So similar to business, the students can choose which major they'd like to focus on in the first semester or so. It's pretty generic, but later on, this is what when they get to focus a little bit more. So it covers things like hotels and accommodation, restaurant and service operations, beverage and event management, travel and tourism, entrepreneurship, and innovation. Now, the reason I really want to tell you why it's my favorite is because culinary arts, baking and pastry arts, butchery, and all of those other ones there, I as a staff and even as a student, we basically get to eat these students' homework. That is my favorite thing to do. The stuff that these students create is fabulous and it is world class. I mean, we have also won awards and we are placed very high globally when it comes to our hospitality and tourism program, simply because of this quality instruction that these students are receiving, but that practical piece, and they're ready to work, you know, fine dining, 5-star hotels all around the world. They open up their own businesses and restaurants because of that entrepreneurship program. Anyways, the stuff that I've seen them do is just fabulous. And again, I get to eat their homework at a discount. No one's complaining. It's so specific, and that's why I really appreciate these programs. If you look at the courses that these students take, it's very specific. There'd be one on just like sugar art. There'd be like chocolate art, plating etiquette, like very specific. They're practical. It's not so much, you know, research and theory based. Again, nothing against any university or anything. It's just a different type of learning. It's generally shorter too. So again, if we're looking at, you know, 4-year degrees in university, it's research based, right? It's theory based. It's a lot of paperwork and stuff. It depends on the industry, but for culinary and baking and pastry arts, we want them working in that kitchen. We want them hands-on with those ingredients, with that chemistry that they need in order to be successful in their final product. So I really like to focus on this slide because it's the more students we can get into these programs, the more I'm able to enjoy and eat these items. So please, if you have any questions on this, please let me know. I'm more than happy to talk about this program. This is where I'm a little stuck because I don't know too much about IT just from a personal background, but you can see there we offer so many different types of IT programs. My best recommendation when it comes to this would be to go to our website, SAIT.ca, and every single program will have its own overview and the list of courses. And the reason I find that is so important when speaking to our students is because, again, I'm just using myself as an example. I cannot tell you what object-oriented software development is or how that is in any way different than network systems specialist. So the best way to direct students or to find out is to read that overview. Now, why? It's not only telling a student what type of courses that they'd be taking, it's what type of jobs they would be getting post-graduation from these programs. So, you know, if students like, oh, I only like coding. Well, we're gonna find out hopefully which one this falls under. But if it turns out after they're reading that description, they're not doing anything like that post-graduation, maybe we need to look at something else. Another example that was related to the health and public safety, I remember several years ago, a student indicated that they really wanted, I think it was maybe diagnostic medical sonography or something like that. Anyways, they were very interested because the pay was great, the graduation employment rate was 100%. They didn't read, you know, the description and everything, and it turns out that they have to do a lot of lab and blood work. Well, this particular individual was terrified of blood, to say the least, saw blood and would faint. Well, that was not a good option for the student. So it's very important that we make sure that the student is truly interested in a particular program and it aligns with their interests and their strengths. So looking at the overview and the highlights and the job opportunities post-graduation is really important, especially when it comes to a school, ICT, for example, that has so many different sub-programs and subcategories. Okay, so the School of Energy, we kind of split it into energy and environment, but as you'll see on the list there, energy is, we've got quite a long list, but most of what we offer for international students are, again, that 2-year diploma. On the left, you'll see environment. One of the newer ones that we started offering was number 1 and 3. So the integrated water management and water and wastewater treatment options. Same thing as I talked about before, this was an industry need. Industry came to SAIT and said, we don't have enough skilled workers, please offer a program, train them. There's tons of jobs with no one to fill them. So we've started offering these programs. It has a very, very high employment rate post-graduation because they're waiting. They're essentially waiting for qualified and skilled workers to join their industries. Manufacturing automation, what's listed there is what is available to our international students. So a lot of the engineering technology programs do fall under our manufacturing and automation programs here at SAIT. And this one here is the last of our 8 different academic schools. So it's our School of Transportation. This one I enjoy talking about too, but you know, as a staff, it's not like I got, you know, a discount to a flight, But when it comes to actually being hands-on, this is fantastic because most of the pictures that I've shown earlier of our campus is just our main campus. We actually have multiple locations around our city. They're called our satellite campuses, one of which is not too far from our Calgary International Airport. We have our own hangar with full-size real airplanes there that our students, for example, in the aircraft maintenance technology program, hands-on, they're working, make sure the thing flies and make sure everything is going smoothly, all the bolts are in. Same thing for our automotive service technology. We've got real vehicles that students are working on hands-on in the lab. It's that practical piece that I really find makes the biggest difference. Okay, so after all of that, your student has decided what they're wanting to take. What does that application journey look like? I'm just going to share briefly, and of course, if anybody has questions specifically how to apply, I can walk everybody through that following this presentation. But in short, our applications open usually about a year, 10 months to a year prior to the program start date. So fall of this year, it actually opened October of last year. So if I'm honest, at this point in time, we're mostly focused on what's going to happen January 2023 and on. But January 2023 and on, we don't actually open till the end of this month. So it hasn't even opened yet, which means you are not late by any chance if you're trying to help a student right now. Again, fall, we still do have some programs open, but we have to keep in mind that students have been applying since October of last year. Same thing kind of with other institutions. Application is predominantly done online. The transcripts and anticipated final grades are also submitted online. And with those documents, a student can potentially get an unconditional offer or a conditional offer. Now, to accept those offers, a tuition deposit of 1,750 Canadian dollars is required in order to secure that seat. The remainder of the first semester's tuition will be due usually approximately a month before the program starts. And it's the first semester, not the first year or the entirety of their program. So following all these confirmations, now we just kind of sit and wait until the program starts and off the student goes. Really, though, the most important thing is applying early. I could tell you all these dates, you can memorize them, but really, most importantly, is to apply early. The earlier it is, the more likely a student will get that offer soon, and so that they could start getting their study permits processed. Now, what's important to note here is the application's close date. We didn't generally have too strict of an application close date previously, but I think with some of the changes that Immigration Canada has been experiencing due to COVID, even though sometimes on their website it says, oh yeah, two months or so, 3 months processing time, we have seen significant delays. So now what we're doing is we're putting the application close date approximately 15 weeks prior to the program start date. So to really give students enough time to get an answer from Immigration Canada, and so that they have their study permit in hand and they can come and start studying. Again, we don't have yet our winter close date, but if I just kind of work backwards 15 months from January, or sorry, not 15 months, sorry, 15 weeks from January, maybe, am I doing the math right? Does September sound right? October-ish? But again, what I can tell you with certainty is that March 30th is when they will open for winter 2023. We are still accepting fall until May 24th, but the options will be relatively limited because there's a lot of students who have already applied. This one, like I said, I may not spend too much time on, but we can, following this, if there's specific questions on how to apply, but it's relatively self-explanatory, the student's personal information, what program they would like to apply for. There are only a couple of things that I would really like to highlight. So when a student goes to applying, it's now $150 for the application fee. But most recently, they've made that into a buy one, get one free campaign. So instead of $150 being one program that a student can pick, a student can now choose 2 programs. So I know a lot of students are like, no, it's either business administration or nothing else. I usually encourage them to put a second one as a backup just in case the first one doesn't pan out. It's already included, might as well put it in there. But the one reminder on that is the second program of choice must also be for the same semester. So a student cannot apply for 2 different semesters with the same $150 application fee. It must be, the program must be offered in that same intake. The only other thing that I would like to highlight when it comes to the application process is actually this one here, the anticipated final grades form. That is so important. I encourage all agents and all students who are applying for themselves to submit an anticipated final grades form. This is because sometimes it can take a significant amount of time for admissions and records department to update, foreign credentials. So high school transcripts from their home country takes time to be evaluated and in some cases translated. So it would be best if a student can anticipate their final grade so that SAIT is able to offer them a conditional offer. So this gets processed a lot faster than the official transcript. So in the meantime, a student can use a conditional offer to apply for a study permit. Once the official documents are evaluated and everything, check, it's good, that's when they will get an unconditional confirmation. But I always encourage people to update and upload their anticipated final grades. We won't spend too much time on this because most of your students will be going through GV, which we highly, highly recommend. But again, this is just a reminder that English proficiency is a requirement for all programs, with the exception of our English program, if students so chooses, or if they've taken like an IELTS exam that also satisfies the 6 in every category. This one is quite unique to Alberta. Again, I went to school in British Columbia and it was very self-explanatory. Grade 12 was indicated by grade 12. So grade 12 math is math 12. I'm not sure why in Alberta, grade 12 is indicated by a 30 level, but this is just for your reference. If you see that an admission requirement says, biology 20, it basically means biology at the grade 11 level. 10 is 10, again, 12 is 30. And finally here, our application status. Once an application is submitted, an agent can go on behalf of a student and check their application status. Of course, what we're looking for is right here, an offered seat. So we referenced this a little bit earlier. If a student is offered into a program, the tuition deposit is $1,750, and then a confirmation letter will be sent, and that is the letter that can be used to apply for a study permit. Hopefully we don't have to discuss this too much, but I do want to let everybody know, because it is quite an investment when you're putting down $1,000+ dollars. But SAIT only considers refunding a tuition deposit minus $250 if the study permit is denied or the admission requirements are ultimately not met. So of course, in those cases, we will refund $1,500. I don't believe we'll spend too much time on this one here, but just to give it a little bit of perspective, the average tuition fees for our programs are approximately $18,000. They do vary from program to program. Books and supplies are not any different for international or domestic, and again, varies from $500 to $2,500. Now, I know that $2,500 is very intimidating, very scary. That doesn't apply to the majority of our students. We're talking like if that includes supplies. So if you're working in the kitchen, it'd be all your knives and your tools and your, the chef's hat, all of that. But books usually are in the few $100 range for our students. Scholarships and grants. I like spending a little bit of time on this slide too, because it's my free money slide. We recognize that international students pay a lot, but there is a lot of free money that is available to students. And currently our awards total is about $5.7 million. I wish it was eligible to just, one individual, but it's not. It is spread throughout. But the one I really truly want to highlight is actually our entrance award. So this is very specific to our international students. We just launched this, so this will be applicable for our students for this fall's intake and next January. So this $2,000 entrance award, the greatest thing about it is there is no particular application necessary. There's no homework, no essay, nothing. If you apply and you are from a particular country, that $2,000 will be automatically applied for our students. And the reason we're doing this for only specific countries at this time is because we truly want to diversify our campus. I can share this with, Scott or the rest of GV and potentially to your individual agents, but there is a list of countries whereby these students will be automatically eligible for this $2,000 award. Again, it's to diversify and enhance our kind of global campus initiative. One of the final slides here is just about the student perks. So we kind of talked about, the field trips and all, but this one is available to all of our students. A universal pass is included in our students' tuition. This kind of works out to about, I think, $150 over the course of 4 months. It's great. I miss that being a student, but it's, what did I say? Like each month is approximately $30 or so. Unlimited rides on our bus and our transit system. So that's a fantastic perk for our students who may be here without a vehicle and they need to kind of get around. The other things that are kind of included, Marketplace is where I buy discounted student edible homework. So that's definitely a place I encourage students to visit. And of course, we have a health clinic right on campus and students union that advocate for students and provide a lot of student supports and services. And most certainly, we never forget that the Employment and Career Center is available for our students, and student development and career counseling is also available to our students to practice their resume writing, to work on their interview skills. And also when I talked about the career and guidance counseling, we recognize there's a lot of challenges that international students face, whether it's culturally or just academically. They're welcome to visit our counseling center for advice and sessions on that too. All right, so that's pretty much it. The next few slides really was just our residence buildings. There's 2 on campus. I'm really not going to spend time on this at all because my next few slides was just the different layouts and what's included. But I always want to remind students it's great to live on campus and therefore there's no excuse to be late for class, but it's not mandatory. Again, because we're so close to downtown, a lot of students are finding, hey, I'll just live downtown. Not a problem, not at all either, but I would say most certainly that in their first semester or first year, they may want to consider this when they're not yet familiar with, the area and they're not sure how to look for housing. This is definitely a very, relatively affordable and also safe place to live and accessible right on campus just to get to know the area. Okay. I said I wasn't going to do all the talking, but I think I did. Apologies, but I hope there's still time for questions, comments, anything. But that is my contact information if you wish to reach out to me following this presentation. I will do my very best to answer your questions. And if I can't, I will do my best to pass you on to somebody who does know. But this is also my opportunity to invite everybody who is ever in the Calgary area to come visit our campus. It really is very, very beautiful. I'd love to take you on a tour and let's share a meal over our students' homework. Any questions that I may have missed, or Eileen, did I blast through it too quickly and I missed something that somebody wants me to repeat?
Eileen, I wonder if you could just ask them in Spanish if they have any questions, just to make sure that everyone can know they have the opportunity to ask questions now.
Yeah, sure, I can do that.
Thank you.
Hola a todos, ¿cómo están? ¿Hay alguna pregunta que tengan? ¿Algo que quieran que Karen repita? ¿Prefieren que, no sé, podríamos mandar esa presentación a su email?
Sí, por favor, mandarnos la presentación al email. Hay algunas cosillas que están muy interesantes ahí, ¿no? También. Y sobre todo los programas para los de IT programs, de Human Video, a ver cómo funciona, porque hay niños que luego, hay muchos niños interesados ahorita en esa área.
Ok. Información sobre IT, entonces, también.
IT programs, sí, por favor, de Human Video y el de Radio and TV.
Ok, tienen el correo de Karen, ¿verdad? Yo le voy a comentar que les mande ahorita la información a sus correos. Yeah, that one. So, Karen,
I only heard IT program.
So they are asking if we can send this presentation to their emails.
Sure. Yep.
Is
In
that
fact, I have
possible? Yeah.
something better than the presentation. I think usually the presentation I'll keep because it has all my notes, but I have a list of all the programs, like all on one
Yeah.
piece of paper with a list
Sounds good.
of 50 plus programs that international students can take.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in this one, the one you're talking right now, it is
Mhm.
like more information related to that, because Laura was telling me that many students are interested actually in the IT programs, and they want to know like what it is about.
Yes,
Sure,
more
yeah.
in the film and video production.
Okay.
It's very, very interesting.
Okay. I've noted that down, Laura. I can send you information more specific to that particular program, but I think if it's okay with Scott, maybe I'll just include, for example, our scholarship information and the list of
Yes.
programs that international students are eligible so that everybody can have access to that. I believe if you're looking for information about a specific program like film and video production, I have like a little one-page overview to summarize
Okay.
the program. Yeah, I can send you that. I have your email here, Laura at yclcanada.com, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'll
Please.
send that to
Thank you
no
very
problem.
much.
Yeah, no problem.
Very-
And I'll show you the link too. So because sometimes the information is updated, I want you to have the most up to date. I will send you the website as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much,
no
Karen.
problem.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so you have 3 intakes, okay? In all the programs?
Most, yeah.
In most, okay.
Most, yeah. Some of them are different, but I can almost promise you September we'll have all of them.
Okay,
January,
yes.
some, which is winter, and then spring, a little bit less.
A little bit, yes. It's
Yeah.
like like in
All
other
schools.
college or schools, yes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love your questions. Keep asking me, Laura. Ask me something I don't know so I can find out for you.
No, that's incredible because, you know, I worked with You Can Learn
Oh, okay.
2 years
Yeah.
ago. So
Yeah.
I know that your school, that Global Village and everything, is a great school and it's a great institution. So I hope I can work with you soon.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. If you don't mind me asking, Laura, what are some of the regions that you assist students? Like, where do they usually come from?
I live in Cancun, in Mexico.
Oh,
So
how nice. Yeah.
and all my, I don't know, but I have probably 4 or 5 students that wants to go to a film and video production. I have one in BCIT and another one's in Fenshaw, but I have more students that want to study that or make a post degree or something like that, you know. It's very interesting.
Okay, that's great. That's really good to hear. I always feel like, you know, BC gets all the acknowledgement when it comes to film and video production. A lot of filming and production gets done in BC. Again, not to show off, but currently actually, they're filming The Last of Us. I don't know if some of you have heard it before. It's based off a video game. I honestly don't know much about it, but this one guy who was in Game of Thrones is in it. Anyways, they're filming all around Calgary right now. In fact, they filmed at our campus for a day. It was great.
And I know that many productions made in Vancouver and Toronto, because it's a beautiful country and we have a spectacular forest, or, you know, something like that, to make a great Netflix productions, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's really interesting to hear. Film and video production is very popular with your students. That's wonderful. I'll send you the information about it as soon as this presentation is done.
I love it because really many students ask for that.
Okay. Yeah, I think there was another one I wouldn't say it's exactly the same, but radio, television, and broadcast is quite popular, and so is the graphic communications and print technology. It's all kind of media related. Yeah,
and journalists too.
Yeah. And these programs, I think, like journalism, for example, doesn't have a math requirement. It's just English.
Okay.
So sometimes that's very popular when I hear students say, like, I'm really bad at math. What can I do? That one.
Yes.
That one
always the maths, it's a problem.
Yeah, I know. Me too, actually. Me personally.
Yes.
Yeah. but you're absolutely right. They are popular, and it depends where the students' skill sets are. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Or you want clarification on, or more information?
Let me see.
¿Alguien tiene más preguntas? Ana, Adriana. ¿Quién más puede hablar español? Exxon.
Aileen, sí, por ejemplo, ¿cuánto tardan ellos en darte si ya aplicamos hoy, haz de cuenta, cuánto tardan en darte una respuesta?
Ok, déjame preguntar esa parte. Karen, so if we, for example, if I got accepted today, how long does it gonna take for you to send the letter of acceptance?
Usually, if the student is already accepted?
No,
what you're gonna say?
I'm asking if I apply today, how long you say to me it's accepted or not?
It could be right now approximately 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. It depends on the time of year, I'll be honest. Like obviously, you know, when the applications open, so March 30th, they open for winter. We usually get so many on the first day or first week. So that might take a little bit longer, but I think right now it's approximately 4 weeks. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
Of course, the answer does change a little bit if the program is waitlisted. So an agent can still check the status of a student to see that they're waitlisted, but that's where I don't have an answer. I don't know how quickly a waitlist becomes an offer or an acceptance, because that all depends how long the waitlist is, right? Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Which I don't unfortunately have access to. But yeah, if it's open and there's seats available and we're just waiting for documents to be evaluated, yeah, it's about 4 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
It's a great question.
Okay.
Well, if there's no more questions, Karen, I wonder if it's a good time to wrap up. What do you think?
Always makes me feel good that, you know, for whatever reason, all my information is spot on.
Great questions. And I think that everyone's noted down your email address and things if they want to ask you anything extra. And of course, they can get in contact with us here at GB Victoria. We can also direct those questions to you as well. It's great that so many people have come today, and you've done a fantastic job. A very, very interesting presentation. I learned a lot, and I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
And I think everyone else did as well. So I'd just like to say thank you very much, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you all for attending. Yeah, I'll be sure to send those generic information to Scott to pass on to everybody else. And Laura, I'll connect with you directly. Of course, everyone is still welcome to connect with me by emailing me after this session if you have any other questions. But thanks again for